Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Wrestling Tonight, live from the No Cell Studios on the Ace of the Tavern, Acefield Retro. And as always, joined on a Monday evening by the one bad Chad, one half of the founders of the Turnbuckle Tavern. Chad, what's up, dude?
Not a whole lot, man. Good night of wrestling. Backlash. We're coming out of Backlash. San Juan, baby. It was a lot of fun, and there's some interesting news, some big news in our big stories, and a lot of quick hitters. So let's get into it, dude.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
Big stories. Story 1.
Story number 1 is the Backlash from Backlash, and it was all good Backlash. The crowd in San Juan, Puerto Rico was on fire last night, and for the first time in 18 years, they were bearing witness to a premium live event, aka pay-per-view. Last time they were there was New Year's Resolution or Revolution, where Edge cashed in the Elimination Chamber, so it's been a while, and we had a really awesome event. And from the jump, Chad, this was all about the crowd, and it also just shows you how much a good, energetic, boisterous crowd can really take an event that is pretty just run-of-the-mill to the next level.
Absolutely. I mean, ECW built a legacy on that. So ECW is awesome. I think it's very underrated. Has a lot of good wrestling that people, I think of ECW. They think just hardcore matches, but the thing that really made ECW stand out was those fucking crowds.
Oh yeah.
And last night, if you're going to look at the matches they had listed just on paper, I think it left a lot to be desired, to be honest. There was maybe 2 or 3 matches that I was stoked on, and everything else was just kind of but goes to show you, man, you can't judge a book by its cover. It was an entertaining Saturday night of matches, and like you said, that crowd was so lit that how could you not? I think that elevated it from, if we're going on a scale from 1 to 5 and you give that event a 2 or a 3 just on like what happened, you're going to give it an extra 2 points.
Oh yeah.
Just on the crowd, because the crowd atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah, they popped for what they were supposed to, and then some. There were people that were not getting big reactions on Raw or SmackDown at all, and they were getting absolutely just applauded. And you can speak to the first match here, and it was interesting, the dynamic of this match where Bianca Belair started to get some of that John Cena heat, and she's about, a year and change into her reign here as champion when she became the Raw Women's Champion how many months ago? I think at this point it's 14 months ago. This match, from the beginning, Io Sky was the babyface here, and Bianca, I think she has to learn how to work heel, because I think it's an uncomfortable territory for her. But this was great for the opener. It went 18 minutes, believe it or not. Io Sky just showed that she was able to work babyface. She kind of fell right into the role, even though Damage Control is predominantly a heel faction. They just switched the roles, and I think Io was more comfortable being a heel than Bianca was. I mean, Io was more comfortable as a face than Bianca was as a heel, which was interesting because Bianca played a little bit of that heel in NXT. She just feels like she was a little bit out of her element.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, she definitely toyed with that in NXT, and she leaned into that, but the fans were still loving her down there. NXT fans were the type that would clap for heels, and you never got a true sense of like a heel. And I think a lot of fans, like if you read the IWC and just the tone, obviously everyone loves Bianca, but I do think there's fans out there clamoring for some sort of change, some sort of evolution of her character. It does feel like she's kind of been beating the same drum for a while. Me personally, I would love to see her go full heel. Like, I think she's got it in her. I think, what a dagger to the heart of the fans from a storytelling perspective if you could make her turn in a very interesting way. And it opens up fresh matchups as far as like, if you flip her, then you could maybe flip some of your other people the other way. So I thought it was a good match, but with Bianca Belair matches here lately, like, I'm impressed, but it's getting into John Cena territory. You kind of mentioned with that, it's getting into John Cena territory for me, where some of the matches just kind of seem like plug and play, paint by numbers. Like,
Yep.
we're going through the same thing. So it's like you need something to freshen her up. I think she's a top 5 performer in the business. Like, she has the possibility to be an absolute superstar if you don't consider her already. But I do think she's reached that level where it's like, okay, time for a shakeup, time for a mix up. Let's put a new face on Bianca a little bit.
Yeah, it's formulaic a little bit, and she just hits her spots. And this is akin to the Hogan run at the top and John Cena, and this is Bianca's run at the top. And she's been quietly having this really long reign because, comparing it to the 3 years Roman's been champ, it kind of falls by the wayside. But it's a historic women's championship run, and a byproduct of that is always there's going to be disgruntled fans because they want someone else at the top, and you're never going to please everybody. And my opinion is they're probably going to keep her babyface just by having her at the top, how good she is with kids. It's a similar John Cena experience where I think she's probably more valuable to them monetarily as a babyface, but they have to find a way to give her an edge and maybe give her more intriguing stories, because there was no story here with Io Sky. This was just
yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, here she is on this pretty legendary run in her own right. And she's kind of falling in the shadow of this epic bloodline run for Roman, because she's got the reign. I mean, not the total reign that Roman has, but she has an impressive reign, but she doesn't have the story to go with it that Roman has. The thing that's making Roman's reign, for lack of a better word, so compelling is the flows of the story we've gotten with Roman. With Bianca, it just seems like plug and play match after match where we're not getting this really deep, involved story. So I'd heard that WWE, and I don't know how true this is, I forget where I read it, but that there was an internal kind of mission to update their records. And as far as like their historical records, that's why we're seeing longer reigns, because they're wanting more modern talent to be at the top of those record books, and us not just always seeing Bob Backlund, Hulk Hogan, and all of this shit. So it's like, if that's the case, it does seem like there is a little bit of that, because you look at Gunther, you look at Bianca, you look at Roman, they're climbing up those record books.
Held the titles for a very long time.
It looks like they're wanting to update their resumes.
Before moving through the results of some of these other matches, I just want to say they have to be careful with Bianca, because you have to use Becky Lynch as a cautionary tale of what happens when you mishandle and go back and forth from babyface to heel. And they have not done that, but they have to be careful, because Becky Lynch was as hot, or if not hotter, than Bianca was at one point. And unfortunately for now, Becky feels like she's just another talent on the roster, and you don't want that to become a Bianca. So
true.
We move into the next match here, and it's again, what we expected. It's an Omos match taking on Seth Rollins. Rollins got the win, 10 minutes and 31 seconds. Match was just there. I mean, at this point, it's an Omos match. He is growing as a performer, but it's a as you mentioned, just a giant match. It's just a guy who is limited to the ring. He's always going to be limited to the ring, and there's not too much story here. The crowd was into Seth Rollins. They played their part, but again, it was just a match that was there.
Yeah, Seth's over. Newsflash. I mean, we all know Seth is over. They're singing, all that. The big thing for me is just that Rollins does so well making a guy look good. They used to say Ric Flair could have a wrestling match with a broomstick and make the broomstick look good. Seth made almost look good. And because I don't think the guy's that great, to be honest. His matches do nothing to me, or do nothing for me. But Rollins did a great job making this match fine. I'll say that. He made it fine.
The other match that we had next was triple threat match for the U.S. title. Austin Theory defeated Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley. They had interesting ways they could have gone with this match, and the addition of Bronson Reed was certainly intriguing. If you could hear the Raw Down Boys, they agreed with us as well about just Bronson Reed being thrown in here, and that was the X factor. What are they doing next to Bobby Lashley? Will he have a part in the updated Raw New World title that we're going to be talking about in a second? But this was a cookie cutter match. Austin Theory stole the match and progressing the storyline further. Austin Theory feels like he's stuck in mud. I mean, it felt like the John Cena win at WrestleMania should have launched him past a certain point, but he's still stuck in the mud, spinning his tires, and we'll see what happens. As far as champions go, the U.S. title feels very like it's in the backseat.
Yeah, Theory, we talked about it. I feel like Theory's got nothing from that Mania win over Cena. He feels like he's at the exact same level he was prior to that match, which it should not have. He should have elevated with that. I honestly, man, in this match, I felt like the crowd was behind Bronson Reed more than anyone.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, we've you especially has thrown praise on Brody King. We're big Brody King fans here at Wrestling Tonight, and we always talk like we get those Vader Bam Bam vibes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Talking about Bam Bam Bigelow, man, I get Bam Bam Bigelow vibes from Bronson Reed, and we're big Bam Bam guys. I'm a fan of Bronson Reed. I really loved the stuff he was doing in New Japan, and now that he came back, I kind of saw this match happening this way. I knew anytime you put a triple threat or a fatal four-way together, I feel like it's a booking maneuver to be able to keep the title on the guy through, you know, stealing a win or something of that nature. So it was pretty, like you said, cookie cutter and predictable, but they got to do something. They've done a great job with the IC title. They've got to do something to elevate the US title right now. I mean, I guess they don't have to. It's WWE par for the course not to really do much with those mid-card belts, but they've done so well with the IC belt. Now it's bringing attention to that US title of like, okay, what are you going to do with this one? So
we also had the women's championship on the SmackDown side on the line. Rhea Ripley took on Zelina Vega to retain the title. She won 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Biggest story here was Zelina getting a huge pop from hometown Puerto Rico, practically crying out there in tears at the flag and everything going on. Crowd was very behind her, but we all know Rhea Ripley was not losing this match. Zelina Vega, I think it's the first time she's wrestled in months. So her getting a title shot kind of makes a mockery of any sort of number one contendership. But again, hometown, all that stuff. So you can make the excuse. But Rhea Ripley got the win here. Match was just okay, but again, the reaction for Zelina took it to another level. And if this was on SmackDown with no reaction, I think it would be just a match that was there. But it was cool to see Zelina get some love in her hometown.
yeah, only 7 minutes, right? Like 7 minutes,
Yeah.
a little. So, yeah. If you're looking at this card from afar, the reason this card even or the reason this match even sticks out is Zelina's reaction. And she had came out and said that she dedicated this to her father, who I believe passed in 9/11, like in the 9/11 attack. So this was a big moment beyond just a homecoming. You know, it was for her dad. You saw the emotion on her face, like you said, when she opened that flag up in her arms, the crowd was losing their shit. We always talk about wrestling's about moments. This was a moment. Did she deserve this title match? Absolutely not. It does call into mockery like any type of rankings or anything like that, but it's WWE. Hey, we're in Puerto Rico. Do we have anyone on the roster that has ties there? Okay, give her the title shot. You know, it's just one of those things, but good moment though.
So speaking of moments, this was a moment in time. Should have been the main event. Not sure why they put this place on the card, but the San Juan street fight between Bad Bunny and Damian Priest was as advertised. And even if you take out the side that Bad Bunny is a celebrity in this match, this was a great street fight match. They utilized the skill set of Damian Priest and also Bad Bunny's limitations in the ring to really with the weapons and everything going on there. And the crowd, like we said, took it to the next level with everyone singing Chambea as he comes out. They're singing along with the theme. And man, as far as pops go, this had a few pops in here. I have not heard the crowd as loud in an arena, more specifically when Bad Bunny came out, but also some of the other spots where Carlito's music hit and he comes in and everything he did was just catching fire. And Savio Vega got a huge pop. LWO. If you guys have not seen this match, and if you're going to watch some pieces of this card, this is what you need to watch. Bad Bunny was impressive. He got the win with the Canadian Destroyer. You can call it the Puerto Rican Destroyer, whatever you want to say. But
yeah,
goddamn, this was a lot of fun. This is what moments are about. And again, this is the example of a match that had no business being as entertaining as it was. This was next level as far as entertaining. And I believe this will be at the top of a lot of people's lists of match of the year because of just what it did. It elicited a reaction. I was sitting there just very entertained. And like the Carlito love, like he's in amazing shape. Would love to see Carlito get another run here in WWE. I mean, he looked in better shape than ever. I mean,
yeah.
Think back to his run back in 05, 06. He looked like he was better than ever. And Puerto Rico was giving him all the love. It was really awesome to see them paying tribute to him and having all that spot. And of course, Savio Vega, legend in his own right. Los Barricos, fun match. Judgment Day getting involved, obviously. You couldn't have asked for a better match. 25 minutes flew by.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an asshole when it comes to celebrities in matches, and I feel like on a lot of wrestling podcasts, there's this thing with Bad Bunny that everyone feels the need to prove how much they think he's doing a good job. Man, Bad Bunny, that guy, he's so good, and I get so sick of hearing that because I just do not like celebrities in wrestling. But Jesus Christ, this kid killed it. He killed it. He was a star. They utilized him perfectly. Kid gets a monster pop. Like you said, Carlito, the roof blew off the place. You pull in Savio Vega, you're pulling at my heartstrings. I want to, I'm thinking of early Stone Cold Steve Austin and Savio battling it out. Like,
oh yeah,
this was a fun match, man. When you look at like the history of hardcore garbage matches, and like I think of the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. I think of the dumpster match between New Age Outlaws and Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack. I think of even the Jackass shit from like WrestleMania a couple years ago. Like those type of matches that look like they're just going to be a bunch of weapons, a bunch of dumb spots. But those matches sometimes, if done right, are very entertaining. And the thing that I loved about this match, it wasn't just hardcore, let's get the weapons, let's do some crazy spots. They gave us these awesome fan service moments of Carlito coming back, of Savio Vega coming back, bringing in LW, bringing in Judgment Day. I mean, it was like, this is WWE at its best.
Mm-hmm.
When some people can say, it's overbooked, there's too much shit, but when they're like throwing you all of these like crazy surprise moments of people we haven't seen in years coming out, interwoven with a hot crowd, interwoven with fun spots, good usage of weapons, it was just a blast. Like you said, 25 minutes flew by. All the respect in the world to Bad Bunny. The thing I love about the guy, I'm not big on, like I said, I'm not big on celebrities, but the thing I love about Bad Bunny, you can tell that he legit loves this shit. You can tell that he loves wrestling. A lot of times celebrities come in and it feels like they're just getting their little 15 seconds of, hey, look at me. So people can follow to what they do. They're pushing their agenda. This guy's one of the biggest stars in the world right now. He doesn't need the eyes of wrestling fans. He just loves pro wrestling. And for that, I got to respect it,
Yeah, for sure. And you can tell he's working on his craft in between the short periods of time he's involved in wrestling when he has a chance, because he was just headlining Coachella for 3 nights in a row.
Yep.
And he's a busy guy. He doesn't have to do this. He has a passion for pro wrestling. I mean, when he hit that first Michinoku driver, I was like, dude, this kid is just studying wrestling. And I just love that he's going out there and trying to be his best. And he has, natural tendency to be athletic. So that is also adding to it. And the crowd was amazing as well. But, this really resonated as well.
Oh, yeah. And real quick, is it just me, or does it look like he's put on a little bit of muscle?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Like, his back muscles were popping in that shirt for sure.
Yeah, because I remember when he first came out doing WWE stuff, I'm like, this guy's like scrawny, man. And I mean, he's still a little guy, but when he was entering the ring last night, I'm like, I believe he's hit the gym a little bit. He looks like he's put on a little bit of mass. So love the dedication.
This even hit a little different for me because we're covering in WWF 1998 Shot of Nostalgia. You guys can check us out 7 p.m. Fridays live, Saturday mornings audio drops. We're talking about on the WCW side, they were using Jay Leno in that tag match at Road Wild, and they were just using Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman. Yep. We've seen celebrities in wrestling, and people like you, as you said, we get sort of our nose turns up a bit, and like, I don't want to see that. But I think Bad Bunny, also Logan Paul, in 2022, 2023, we're redefining what it means to be a celebrity in wrestling. So the next time someone comes in, you can't come in and do 2 moves and be satisfied with it. Yeah. You want to be a celebrity and come in wrestling. Even Johnny Knoxville kind of, he didn't do a lot as far as typical wrestling goes, but that match was fun. Leaned into
Pat McAfee.
For sure. So you can't be Jay Leno, you can't be Karl Malone anymore, or Dennis Rodman. You have to come in and have some, chops for this business. And Bad Bunny, like I said, if he's going to go out there and do the things he's doing, and it's in this capacity, feuding with a guy like Damian Priest and not stealing spotlight from anybody else, why the hell not? This was entertaining.
Right, right. Yeah, and wrestling fans, I think we respect that. You know, if we see that you're going in and putting your body on the line, I think that the era of WWE that really just, man, it lit my ass on fire. It made me so mad was when they would bring in celebrities on Raw, and the
Oh
celebrity
yeah,
would
yeah,
always end up punking out the wrestler. And you could tell they didn't know how to throw a working punch. You know, they'd just come in and make a fool of a guy who's got to stay. They come in for their one night thing. And I vividly remember, I'm wanting to say it was Hugh Jackman came in.
yeah. That was the Zack Ryder segment.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? I just got so sick of the wrestlers always getting beat up. And but if they're Bad Bunny and they're doing moves like that, I can buy into that. But if you're
Right.
just some flavor of the week popping in, nah. We respect the people that give their time to it.
And the other thing is too, and before we move on to the last two matches, usually wrestling is a day late and a dollar short with celebrities. They're usually like behind the trend. Like, oh, cool, we're gonna bring Bob Barker in after Price is Right is like no longer popular.
Yeah.
But he's as relevant as ever. He's the most streamed artist. They're saying that that's not a work, that's a shoot, brother. That's he's out there being the most. If you're not into his music, that's one thing you can't deny his popularity. Millions upon millions of fans, and
he's huge.
He is a A-list celebrity,
Yep.
bringing eyes to the product, and he's also talented. It's good for everybody. One hand washes the other.
Met Gala, Grammy Award winning, makes me feel like I'm an out of touch old man because I do not know who he is, and he's so big. Like nothing makes you seem old more than I'm like, who's Bad Bunny? And then someone's like, oh, he's just the largest selling record artist right now in the world. Okay, I'm totally out of touch, but yeah, that's awesome, man. He is, like you said, this isn't some B celebrity. This guy is at the top of celebrity right now in the world, and he's doing Canadian destroyers. Like, how cool is that?
And a 25-minute match too, which is so cool.
Right.
And this is gonna be shown across the world. People that are not wrestling fans are going to see this. It works for WWE, and also Bad Bunny gets to live his dream, which this seems like it is his dream.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the two main events left here, and we have the 6-man tag match, which was the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso taking on Matt Riddle and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This match was this could have been on SmackDown. I'll be honest with you. The biggest thing you pull from this match was Sikoa just about to hit the Samoan spike on Jey Uso, so they're teasing that. Jimmy was unaware, but there's tension between the Usos and Sikoa. Jimmy's not as aware, but Jey is obviously playing the part here, progressing the storyline. Again, this could have been on SmackDown, but no Roman Reigns. You had to do your best to get the Bloodline story progressed.
I got to be honest, man. I think the Bloodline story right now is in the mud. I think it's for something that I think is an all-time great story. I'm not saying everything's been bad, or I think it's one of the greatest stories ever told in WWE. But since Mania, it's felt like it's in a slog to me. Like they're trying to find their way out. And I don't know, man. I'm getting kind of burnt out on the whole Jey with or without the bloodline. Solo, is he turning on there? I don't know, man. That storyline, they've done that so much now that I'm like, there has to be something else you bring in. There has to be some sort of focus of, instead of just Roman against his guys, does he trust them? Are they going to turn on him? I mean, that is a good story, but I just feel like they've beat that for so long that they're running the risk of kind of jumping the shark and really just getting so repetitive with what they're doing. It honestly makes it seem, I know everyone says Jey Uso, a lot of people think that he should be the guy to take the title off of Roman. I don't agree with that, but it does seem like there is something to circle back to on this. And this match, kind of like you said, with that Samoan spike, possibly going for it on Jey, teasing that. It's like, where are we going here? Because if you're giving us cheese like this for the rats, as I say, like, there's got to be something coming there. Are we going back to Jey? Are the Usos going to leave the bloodline? Because all of this eventually has to pay itself off. You can't just keep giving us these Easter eggs of is he going to turn? And they never do. That's why I was so upset when Jay went back to Jimmy. You know, when they split, I thought that was that was such a fun thing because it was different. We hadn't seen them officially split, but then they had to get back together to go do the Mania match. And now they're teasing them again that there's dissension. So I don't know. I just feel like you got to pull the trigger, man. You got to pull the trigger on something big.
Yeah, well said. I think they have a very challenging road ahead to keep this relevant until WrestleMania 40, if they even want the bloodline associated with Roman Reigns.
Right.
We'll see what they do. They kind of have to pull the trigger on something. I mean, maybe an IC title reign for Sikoa, something like that to spice things up. But let's get into the main event here. It's Cody Rhodes taking on Brock Lesnar. 9 minutes and change for this match. Good match. I mean, this is a formulaic. When I talk about formulaic, Lesnar has a formula that works. He really can make the face feel like they're in peril, they're in danger. Lesnar's an intimidating force. Cody got the win here, which was interesting. What they had, he was locked in the Kimura lock, and then
rolled his shoulders up.
He got the shoulders up, which was great, and countered into a cradle for the pinfall. It didn't hurt Lesnar by losing. Lesnar can lose all he wants, and doesn't matter. He's still the monster he is. He's built up enough stock with the fans that they will just believe next week. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The biggest thing here, blood, a lot of it. And maybe they didn't know he was going to be bleeding this way. I mean, they did the spot with the exposed turnbuckle. Lesnar came up bleeding, and it was a lot of blood. And obviously Lesnar's a big boy and the blood's pumping pretty hard in there. So he was dripping. There was a spot where the ref was being hesitant. He had towels and he thought he was going to wipe them off, but maybe he got in his earpiece. The visual's too good. Let it go. And this worked to me. Seeing blood sparingly in WWE, it has shock value, where blood was always used as this thing where it happened all the time. But now when it happens, because it's used so little, it means a lot. So Rhodes busting open Lesnar after everything that went down. This was a nice little, as we say, a pelt on his armoire.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. I do think they could use blood more, but I'm a fan of blood. But like you said, the fact that they don't use it, when it does happen, it's shocking. And most times when it happens, it's not planned for. And you see that ref wiping it off. You see the cameras cutting away, but they leaned into this. And I honestly think, man, a big reason Trips is a historian. He loves old school wrestling. Puerto Rico was known for fucking wars back in the day, man. Like that territory, when people would go there 70s, 80s, like it was a very renowned territory. You're going to bleed. There's going to be some crazy matches. And I honestly think this was like a tip of the cap to that. We're in Puerto Rico. Let's give them some old school wrestling. I mean, this match was very old school. Like you said, very, very, it was good, but it was simple, easy, good finish. Crazy seeing that Crimson Mask on Lesnar. Like, I did not think.
Yeah, it should have been the opposite, right? If you had to be a betting man, what were the odds that it would be Lesnar bleeding, not Cody? And I think that was what they were going for.
Exactly. If AEW, Cody was a bleeder. So I'm like, if somebody's going to bleed in this match, it's going to be Cody, and he's going to, come out this blood-covered victorious guy. But it was cool, man. It was cool because I didn't see it coming. I liked the finish. I like these little sneaky finishes like this. It's kind of a throwback type of finish. And it cracked me up, though, because Cody called him a coward. And then he uses all these weapons against Lesnar, gets the win, and runs out of the ring. It's like, who looked like a coward there?
True,
but
good point.
But yeah,
the flash pin finish works, and they don't use it as much as they used to, which is okay. And it's one of those mechanisms to make the guy look strong and keep everybody happy. The right choice was Cody winning. He needed a win here. I know there was some talk. I saw some stuff being posted on Instagram and on social media in general, talking about how potentially it would have been a squash match the other way. So I was really hoping not to see that, where Lesnar was squashing Cody, because, man, that would have been, we'd be talking about, that'd be story number one, talking about the demise of Cody Rhodes in WWE, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were claiming Cody was going to take the L. He was going to just get beat
Like the John
all
Cena formula where the John Cena got killed at SummerSlam.
Exactly. He was going to get killed and they were going to push him down so he can put him, fight his way back to get that
Rise
title.
from the ashes, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. I thought that would have been too much here because Cody is over with the crowd 100%. He is a star. He's a main event star as far as just the way the crowds treat him. But he doesn't have the stock that Cena did when Cena got buried. Like when Cena was to that point and he got killed by Lesnar at SummerSlam, right? Was that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, Cena was Cena. He could afford to shock the crowd with a squash like that. If you would come out and just had Lesnar steamroll him in like 5 minutes and destroy him, he doesn't have that stock with the crowd. I think it would have hurt him. It would have hurt him.
Yeah, and that's a different Lesnar too. Lesnar was fresh off the ending the streak. Lesnar's taken a lot of losses. So if you look at it in perspective, like everyone was beating Lesnar. Anyone feuding with him got a big win. You go back to the Drew McIntyre WrestleMania moment, but Lesnar's not this undefeated, unbeatable monster that he was back in 2014 when that happened. But yeah, this is, this crowd was awesome. They took it to the next level. Next stop is Night of Champions, where they'll crown the new Raw World Champion. And Saudi Arabia tag in. You guys have to step up and see if you guys can keep up with the Puerto Rican crowd. My guess is no.
I don't see it going that way. Puerto Rico was salivating, hungry for a big event, and I think honestly, man, I love the Cody Lesnar match. I thought it was great. I thought, the street fight probably, as far as just sheer entertainment, stole the night.
Mm-hmm.
But I think realistically, the star of Backlash was that crowd, 100%.
Yeah. Speaking of crowds, let's talk about the next big event we have to look forward to, All In London.
Let's do it.
Big story 2.
Story number 2 is the All In London ticket sales, and we were talking about last week the pre-sale, and we were talking about what the number would look like. Every week it seems like we're projecting what would be a successful number. Well, it seems like they've already hit a successful number just in the pre-sale, and now we had the Friday public on sale for August 27th All In. We're above 60,000 tickets now. Some projections have it close to 67,000. This is according to Tony Khan. He was also tweeting that they hit the $7.7 million in gate revenue for their London debut in Wembley. I mean, even just after their pre-sale, they already pretty much set the record for the company. They set their gate revenue. And this, by all intents and purposes, is an absolute success. They bet on themselves, and they're cashing in. And I think now the goal probably should be close to a sellout, or close to what 71,000, 72,000 would be the number that I think for Wembley for 1992 SummerSlam, which was the exact gate, as Meltzer puts it, not 81,000. Either way, this is insane to have 60,000 AEW fans. This is triple the amount that they did at Arthur Ashe.
And that's 60,000 as it stands right now. We have,
by the way,
we have June, July, August. We have over 3 months to go. This is incredible, man. I don't think people are fully giving this the special flavor that it deserves when you talk about it, because no company does this outside of WWE. Nobody on a level like this. And let's be honest, WWE does it for Mania, their Super Bowl of the year. This is a once a year thing where we get to see a stadium jam-packed. I know they've flirted with little like stadiums for other little things, but for the most part, WWE, this is Mania. And now you've got another company putting on a stadium show. It's so special for pro wrestling, man. It really elevates AEW as a true alternative, not only for fans. I mean, fans, yeah, but I'm thinking wrestlers. Like when you're a wrestler and you see, damn, they can fill Wembley. Okay, I mean, we don't know what's going to come of this. Is All In going to become AEW's WrestleMania event where every year All In is a stadium show? That's possible. if they sold this many tickets in a 4-day span,
Right.
if I'm Tony Khan, I'm thinking, let's do it again. Where can we do it next year? They're not taking a step back. And I think they've shown, as this company has grown, each year they add a little something more. They add a little something more. And to put their neck on the line and go for Wembley of all places, crazy. I truly think like we're going to see, and I was skeptical, man. I thought they would be lucky to sell 55. And now I think there's a possibility you have 80 plus in the building that night. I really do.
It's wild to even think about it. And like we talk about steps forward, and they've been setting the bar. And we talked about potentially their London debut being Craven Cottage, and that was 20,000 plus. I think it was a little bit above Arthur Ashe, and that would have been considered a success. But I think Tony Khan really looked at the LA debut and the metrics and the want for tickets and limiting himself to smaller arenas. He probably was like, you know what, this is the first time. You can't get your first time back. This is our debut in the United Kingdom. This is our chance for a market that, for, as popularity goes, one of the more popular markets for AEW as far as television programming goes. And this is your debut there. We saw the clamoring of every market they go to, whether it's the Pacific Northwest or when they came to the Northeast for the first time. Eventually that market dries out because you run it a little bit too often. We're seeing that in New York a lot because tickets are not as desirable as they were. It's like the UBS arena shows are not as popular as the Arthur Ashe show, that first one where everyone was, the secondary market was insane for the tickets. This is their first debut, and you don't get first impressions back. And everybody's aware of their product, but just optically for the casual fan that's tuning in, they will see photos on social media inevitably. They'll see pictures of people there. Yep. And not to mention the people then in the UK that are not familiar with the product that will see this. Oh, Wembley's having a wrestling show. Oh, I guess WWE's come back. Wait, what is AEW? And it just kind of raises the eyebrows and brings them up to that level. And we talk about Impact benefiting from being number 3 all the time. But we're having at this point, and I'm not saying AEW is approaching where WWE is. They're not close to that level as far as market value of where they are entertainment wise. But this is about optics. This is about the way things look on the outside looking in. This does not look like a 4-year, 5-year company going in and saying, let's just try our hand at this wrestling thing. This looks like an established brand that has been around for decades. Like, yeah, they move. And I have a visual of them in my brain about this. If you play the game Sorry on the board game where you hit the arrow and you just slide forward, that's what Tony Khan is doing right now, because you could have took a small step forward, 2 steps forward, and said, let's hit 30,000 for a bigger arena. Let's go run in LA at the Galaxy's stadium, which is around like 35,000. No, you know what he's doing? He's running Wembley, a historic site, place of SummerSlam 1992. He's a wrestling fan. He knows the significance of London. He knows the significance of Bret Harper's British Bulldog for the IC title. He knows all this, and he's using his metrics, the analytics, the sport mind to sell tickets and have an idea about what the gate would be. And he's proving people wrong over and over again.
I love it, man. And not only does he know his wrestling history with, SummerSlam 92, he also has a keen sense of AEW's history. As far as like, if you look at the way this is laid out, All In, essentially the birth of AEW. This was prior to Tony Khan even coming in. All In at the time was this highly successful, the biggest independent show ever.
Yep.
Based off the Dave Meltzer bet with the Elite, and they take the bet to sell out Chicago. They do it. So that's kind of the kicking off point. Then Ring of Honor owns All In, so they can't even use that name, right? That name is off the table. They create All Out. Well, 3+ years into the company, what's Tony do? He buys Ring of Honor. They get that property back. And like you said, Ace, like they could have easily just went up the ladder and added an extra 10K for this event. And let's go for 30 here. Let's go for 40 here. Let's get up to 50. They could have worked their way up. But Tony's like, no, you guys went all in for All In back in 2018. Let's do it again. Let's bring All In back and let's really push the chips on the table. The guy's got a gambling mind in him. I mean, look at the brands of you've got Double or Nothing, All In. there's some gambling in this man's head, and for him to go for Wembley, how huge is that? Like he just all of these people that want to see this company fail, that want to see them just go up in smoke because they think Tony's cringe or the product shit or whatever they want to say. He stuck it to every one of them. Everybody that thought this was going to flop on its face, we're creeping up on 70K. I think in the next day or two, we're probably going to see a Tony Khan tweet. We just hit 70K. We're heading towards a sellout, and we really beat the drum of the Puerto Rican crowd crushing it. 80,000+ in Wembley for an AEW show. Think of the moments we're going to see that we've never got to see before. Think of 80,000+ singing Judas. Think of the white Contron videos, the whiteout when Orange Cassidy walks out there and we hear that Jane hit in a fucking stadium, dude. There's going to be so many moments that we have only seen on a 20,000 or less scale. So to see all of that cranked up to 80,000 in Wembley with a UK fan base, and you know the UK fan base is crazy hot. I mean, they're rabid wrestling fans. It gives me, honestly, like right now I have goosebumps thinking about the moments we're going to get. Like I'm so excited. I'm so excited for All In, and we got 3 months, man, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
So you mentioned before, you kind of alluded to it, but let's take aim at some of those haters that are waiting for AEW to fail, and they're continuing to be wrong. And you can read comments on social media. I understand people are trolls, but there are certain people that feel like they're continuing to move the goalposts, and that's okay. They keep saying that, they did 60,000, but only 19 are going to show up, or they only doing it in UK because they know that they'll be able to sell it out there, but they'll never be able to do it anywhere else. Like comparing it to other things that WWE is doing. Just stop, dude. Like just enjoy. If you don't like the AEW product, don't watch, don't consume it. But at the end of the day, it is good for professional wrestling that a secondary option at this level exists for the talent, for the fans, for the production side of wrestling. It creates opportunity for everybody else, and it grows the business. There's a reason why we're in this boom period as far as wrestling goes, where GCW is running internationally. We're having AEW doing big stadium shows. WWE continue to kill it financially. Their biggest gate and the biggest financial year in their history. And not to mention the indies are thriving. You can make a living on the independents making big money. Guys like Matt Cardona. We watched Cody Rhodes be able to survive on the indies based on bookings in local high schools and stuff. Where we've seen wrestling go in the last 5 years is because of AEW being a secondary option. Whether you like the product or not, you don't like Tony Khan, we've created a market for wrestling that we're reaching heights we have not reached. This is unforeseen territory. And will AEW ever get to the entertainment value of WWE as far as market value? Probably not. They won't be the same brand because WWE has 35, 40 years of history as that brand. But for 4 years in, for where AEW is in 4 years, it's unfucking believable. And for people that continue to poo-poo what AEW is doing and you're wishing for them to fail, keep on wishing. Tony Khan's going to push the chips to the middle of the table and prove you wrong every fucking time. So keep hating.
Preach. It's so true, man. Like I don't get that stigma. I don't get this tribalism of like, I like this company and I don't like this company. I just like pro wrestling. And every pro wrestling company gives me stuff that is great and gives me stuff that is shit. That's just pro wrestling, man. Like that is the nature of the business. No company has ever given us nothing but good stuff. Like, and I'll say this to those fans that constantly shit on it. And you don't want to be the fan that you get hooked in eventually, 3-4 years, maybe there's a storyline at AEW that piques your interest and you do tune in and you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And you've missed out on what's came before. You've missed out on the inside jokes. You've missed out on the history. That's why for the most part, every wrestling company, I like to stay attuned because even if I'm not vibing on what they're doing at the time, I don't want to feel left out of the conversation where when it is hot, it's like, oh yeah, I wasn't watching then. I wish I had been, because I do have a lot of moments. Everybody's got their moments where they kind of drift away from pro wrestling, whether you go to college or something in your life consumes you. And there are moments of even WWE history where it's like, oh, that's my dark period where I didn't watch for a year. And some big moment happens and I feel left out because, yeah, I've went back and watched it on the network, but there's a difference in following that story week to week. Don't be the fan that 5-10 years from now, you're like, damn, I wish I was watching then. Because you hear the fans that's been there since day one talking about how great of a time it is. Dude, we are in a great time for AEW just from watching them grow. The fact that we're getting to see them for the first time enter into a stadium show, like, dude, I can't imagine the stage setup and how everything's going to be laid out and just rabid 80,000 plus. I don't think it's I know we're only sitting at 60 to 67 is the projection right now. But I just can't see a world where this thing doesn't sell out now because they're so ahead of the curve. And, the Young Bucks even weighed in on it on Twitter. They were talking about giving one of those things, like one of those tweets where, or maybe it was their bio, I think, where they were just like blown away by it, like we can't believe how far we've came, I
have it here. I'll read it to you. They wrote, many people talked about change. Many people crave change. We went out and helped make that change. Forever proud. For All In 2, for 7 years of BTE, for everything. I mean, they're at the forefront of history here. Again, the people too, as far as tribalism goes, there's a world you can live in where you're critical of AEW, you don't like the product they're putting out, and admit this is a success. Admit you were wrong, that you didn't think they were going to be able to sell the tickets, and that's okay. But there, we can go back to the history of wrestling. There's always people that are going to doubt these movements in wrestling. There was a time where certain wrestlers didn't believe going off the top rope or going against the ropes looked too fake. It's never going to catch on with the fans. Your mindset's just different, and that's okay. But there are people, 60,000 at the current moment and growing, that feel like this is something they want to get behind. So you can spout all these numbers you want. You can say the ratings and TV. It doesn't matter. AEW is successful, and it's good for wrestling. So shut the fuck up.
I think it's these internet fans that they see the ratings come out week to week, and they want to paint a picture of a company based off of things like that. When I've been to shows, AEW shows, and I've been to Double or Nothing a couple times, been to All Out, been to tons of Dynamites. I've never been to a show where I go in there and the crowd is lackluster. You always feel like the company is hot when you're there. So it's like this stigma, this online stigma of, oh, they're doing poorly. Oh, the shit's out. You never feel that at the live experience. It always feels like, man, they are hot. People are excited to be here. And for them to go into this new market in the UK and everyone's comparing it to Clash at the Castle, a lot of comparisons. And I think people are wondering, how rabid is the AEW fan base overseas? Like, how are they going to turn out? And I'm sure there's a little bit of that. This is their first time. This is a big historical moment, so we want to be there. I think the Brits turn out for shit like that. Like, if they feel like they want to be a part of history. But I think it also speaks to, it's big over there. Like, this company is going to be a success in Europe. I truly believe it. And a big reason for that is the styles, man. The how they feature all the different styles. Me and Sneed always talk about it. I love WWE, but with a WWE match, all of the styles, even the luchadors in WWE and things like that, I feel like they all get kind of filtered through that WWE way of wrestling a match.
Yep.
Where in AEW, there is no filter to a match. It seems like true style clashes. And that's my favorite thing about it, is they're not trying to buff out the edges of strong style, lucha, European grappling, like all of that stuff. They let the wrestlers be themselves, and it's a smorgasbord. And I think Europe appreciates that, seeing all these various styles. And I mean, case in point, man, look at the success of All In so far. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, everybody should be rooting for professional wrestling. If you're a fan of the art, the entertainment source, you should be rooting for AEW to do well because it helps everybody grow. It's cliche, but a rising tide lifts all ships, and WWE has benefited from the existence of AEW, whether directly or just by their existence of challenging them, because there's another option out there to step up their game, hire people that belong in the right spot, cut the excess fat of certain wrestlers, push the guys that feel like they deserve to be pushed, and you don't have to just say we want to do it and we're the only game in town. Whether AEW is going to put them out of business, never. They're not going to do that. That doesn't matter. They're making WWE, because WWE is seeing this. And the other butterfly effect thing, and I was reading about the Cardiff show for Clash of the Castle over a year ago, or less than a year ago at this point. They were originally going to run Wembley, but Cardiff offered them more money. And the butterfly effect is if they would have ran Wembley, I don't think they would be willing to run another show for the AEW, and maybe they would have had exclusive rights with WWE, and they won't do it. Maybe Tony Khan wouldn't want to run that market so soon after it just had a big show, the first time since '92. So they left that door open for AEW now, and they're kicking it down. Maybe they took them for granted and said, no one else is going to have the capability. We'll come back to Wembley when we want to. And here's AEW going for the first time. This has got to sting a little bit because 1992 SummerSlam has this lore about it, one of the best atmospheres ever for wrestling. And they, we think about those great moments. To me, that's still the height of an outside WrestleMania event in WWE lore. SummerSlam 92 at Wembley always feels important to me. You've always heard about it. It has this magistry about it. And now AEW is going to take on that history, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. And for all the fans, that claim they love the wrestlers. It's all about the wrestlers. Just speaking to what you just said, the AEW's existence above all else, when we talk about a rising tide lifts all ships and things like that, the thing they do more than anything is put more money in a wrestler's pocket. Like, now you're not locked into this is the only show in town and every other promotion cannot match what WWE can offer monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they now have a legit company that can get contract negotiations, raising those dollars for the talent, that's what I like to see. I like to see these people. Look at the heroes we grew up. Look at the McFoleys, man. They are battered. They put their body on the line. They deserve to make as much money as they can. Vince, we saw how much they sold to Endeavor. They have billions. Let's get some of those billions rolling back into the pockets of the talent. And I think AEW being there allows that to happen. The negotiations improve, and then they can go to shows like All In and put their life on the line because they know they're taken care of.
Yeah, building a safer, more productive, profitable world for professional wrestlers. That's what it's all about, man. This is their livelihood, and we want them to be taken care of long after they're done in the ring because, like you said, they put their bodies on the line and they deserve to be awarded for it and not be taken advantage of like they were for so many years. This is similar to the NFL. We're getting aware of the health and everything that goes into that. No more headshots with chairs and all that. And for the betterment of the talent. So all good stuff. But let's get into the third big story here.
Big Story 3.
All right. So we have some news on what will be happening with the new World Championship with WWE. So at WWE's pre-Backlash press conference, Paul Levesque was talking about what would be going on with the title. And we knew that the championship would be awarded at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, but we didn't know how we would get there. And he's announcing a tournament will begin on Raw this coming Monday. As you're watching this, it's happening. And there'll be 2 triple threat matches on the episode. And the winners will then face off against each other later that night to decide who will go to Night of Champions. And we're also going to get 2 triple threat matches on Friday's SmackDown, with those winners then facing each other in the main event of the episode. And the winner from SmackDown and the winner from Raw will determine the inaugural World Heavyweight Champion. We don't know the participants yet. We're assuming it's going to be like guys like Seth Rollins, probably Cody Rhodes, maybe Bobby Lashley. Trying to think of other guys involved here.
Drew McIntyre, maybe
if he comes back. Yeah, we have Drew McIntyre, Shane.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the newly created World Heavyweight Championship belt was pretty much unveiled. We talked about it and talked about what it looked like and the inspiration last week. But if this will determine where it goes, and you can kind of make the assumption someone from Raw will win, right? Because unless they're going to move Roman full time to on Monday night, but it seems like this was made for Raw. So you're kind of saying like when you go into Night of Champions that the person on the Raw brand is going to win, right? Am I just overthinking this?
No, I mean, you're using logic, Ace. Like, I don't know if they use logic, because to me, the way they're crowning this champion is illogical based on the rules that you've given us. We just had a draft. They want a Raw champion, or a champion on Raw, I should say. But they're opening up to SmackDown talent? Like,
so apparently, I mean, again, now I'm thinking about this out loud here, and I know we have to deconstruct it because triple threat matches and tournaments are not the typical way to get there. I guess if the SmackDown guy wins, he'll be drafted to Raw automatically. That probably is what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, man, they could fuck up a ham sandwich, man. I mean, they just overcomplicate everything. Like, does it have to be this complicated? I mean, I get it, but it's just a weird way to crown a champion to me. 2 triple threat matches and then the winners face off. I don't know. I would have rather seen like a tournament. And honestly, I think it would have been cool. We don't see one night tournaments much.
100%. I'm about to say the same thing.
Dude, if you wanted to get me very, very interested in Night of Champions, do a one night tournament and make that the centerpiece of that event. Throw some other matches in there to break up the tournament matches, but a one-night tournament should have been the way to properly crown a world champion. I think 2 triple threat matches just it cheapens it a little bit.
There's a guy that doesn't get pinned. We talked about the triple threat match at Backlash. There's a guy who's being protected. What's the point of a triple threat match? Is it really determining who the best man is? If that's what the world champion is.
Right. The triple threat makes it just cheapens it for me. It cheapens it.
The title itself, to me, again, we talked about it last week. It's a consolation championship, and without Roman on the show, we saw that they can build cards without Roman. He's not at every pay-per-view premium live event. I'm sorry, and these guys they need something to compete over. But like I said last week, over and over again, take the WWE Championship from Roman. Give it to do the exact same thing you're doing here. You want to do triple threat match, you want to do fatal 4-ways, you want to do a goddamn 6-man scramble. Don't really care, but it should be the WWE Championship. You shouldn't have 3 world championships for 2 brands being held by 2 guys. It cheapens it. So the whole thing is convoluted. End of the day, we're going to have a champion crowned at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Very appropriate in Saudi Arabia for the fraud that it is. So we're going to be getting our answers very soon. And as we're watching this, we'll have an idea who's coming out of the Raw side as far as the triple threat goes. And at least it gives some importance to the Raw program for the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something to tune into. I mean, it elevates the stakes of knowing, hey, a world champion is at the end of this road we're walking down right now. I guess that elevates these triple threat matches to be interesting, especially for Raw. Raw's championless right now, essentially, but I don't know, man. I'm not vibing on the way they're crowning this champion. I thought there would be a little more prestige behind it. I didn't want to see them do just pick two people and throw them in there. I honestly didn't even want to see them do like a small tournament, 4 guys and then they face off. I wanted to see like an 8-man bracket. That's what I would have loved that. I don't think WWE is very big on legit tournaments, though. And I know Tony Khan loves a tournament. I mean, about a year ago, everybody was saying tournament.
We need somewhere in between Levesque and Khan. We need cut the middleman out.
But I don't know, man. I'm not big on it. I'm not. Listen to the episode last week. Me and you both tore this belt apart. So they had a hard road for me to be behind the way they're going to crown the champion, because I don't like the belt to begin with.
Yeah, and again, if this was the exact same thing you're doing for the WWE Championship, at least you can say it's the WWE Championship. Now you're building new lineage with this belt, and whatever lineage they attach, it doesn't matter. It is
Yeah.
the secondary title to the main guy, Roman Reigns. It's the I couldn't beat Roman Reigns title. So no matter how you get to that point, it just feels hollow because Roman Reigns is the guy and this guy will be not the guy. And that's a bad way to go into introducing a world championship.
And honestly, man, it muddies up Roman for me too.
I know we talked about that extensively last week. I feel the same way.
Yeah, it muddies him up now. Like where before he was the man, he held both belts, he's at the top. And now there's going to be this other champion. And it's like, okay, are you the man now? And I get the whole both shows need a champion. We need something to fight for, which I think is a crock of shit.
So be creative and take the WWE championship off the guy. Figure it out.
Exactly.
What are you guys getting paid money for creatively instead of just
it's lazy booking, like we said last week.
Inflation 101. You can't just print more money when people are like needing money because you need to figure out a way to make this work, and you have not figured it out.
It's like we said last week. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want Roman to be this undefeated 1,000-day reign guy, but they also want another champion. But they don't have the balls to creatively take those titles off of him without hurting him or how they perceive, him to be hurt by it. I don't know, man. I think the title sucks. not even the look of it. Like I'm fine with the look of it, but the creation of it sucks. The way they're going to crown the champion, I'm not in for. And I think it's shitty booking, man. It's lazy booking. Like have some balls in your booking and find a way to take these off of Roman.
Yep.
That's as easy as it is.
All right, let's get into the quick hitters here and break down the news of the week thus far. Quick hitters. All right, starting with quick hitters, the star of wrestling tonight for the first 19 weeks is CM Punk. And we had Saraya commenting on his impending return with an interview on BBC Radio Norfolk. So she was talking to them, and she said she feels like Punk returning would be a great asset for AEW. Saraya said Punk has always been, and I quote, an absolute sweetheart to her, and they've never had any conflict whatsoever. So she goes in talking a little bit more about just her history at WWE, talking about relationships there. But people pulled out this, and she also said, I want whatever is best for business. And I feel like if people don't like each other, you have to find that common ground in a professional setting, So Saraya gets it. FTR gets it. Seems like everybody is getting on the same page here. We'll talk a little bit further about what the Punk stuff is ever evolving as far as his role on Collision and possibly Dynamite. That's changing. But this is just another person in Punk's corner saying nice things. It doesn't really matter. It seems like this train has already left the station. It's pulling in soon. It's a matter of everyone just has to kind of accept that it's happening. And it seems nice that Saraya is on the other side complimenting him. It's better than someone coming out and saying something bad because we don't want any more derailment on the way to June 17th, right?
Yeah, and I think this is just the adult appropriate way to take this. You had a fight, get over it, do business. It's as simple as that. Like be holding a grudge and I'm not going to work with him. That sounds so it's immature. It's like you're in a multi-million-dollar company about to do 80,000+ at Wembley. Get your shit together, get your heads out of your asses, put your egos aside, and do business. Period. And Saraya is talking to that. And I think Saraya, it's funny. I've never had a problem with him. I don't think CM Punk has ever had a problem with any female wrestler. He's always championed women's wrestling. Say what you want. I mean, his wife was a former WWE champion. I think he's always been behind them. I don't think he's ever stirred shit with that type of stuff. I think it's always been mano a mano, machismo, guys that he's dealing with in his matches. I think that's where his shit comes in. I think he's always been, we heard stories on FTR's podcast about how he would give
Starbucks gift cards, yeah,
for the women's division. And he's always talking about, I mean, fucking in his debut promo with AEW, if you remember, the first name he dropped was Britt Baker. Like He was like, you guys are treating me like I'm Britt Baker, like he's always elevating the women. So this didn't shock me that Saraya had kind words for him.
So we also move on to Matt Cardona, and we mentioned him before, making a living on the independents, and he's been really profitable as far as, everywhere he's been, collecting titles. Apparently he's going to be done with Impact Wrestling for now. And according to Fightful, they were saying that Impact wanted to formalize a deal with Cardona for guaranteed dates versus the handshake deal they've been working in the past 2 years. That wasn't made an option as Impact has, and been, I quote, been a little more adamant in signing deals. They said there's no drama between the two sides, and Matt Cardona is open to return, but only if it's a handshake deal. Cardona hasn't wrestled for Impact since January, where he lost the TV taping match to the digital media champion, Joe Hendry. So we talked about Cardona making a living and having the leverage, creating his own narrative about what he exactly wants his career to be and not being locked up into anything. He understands best that when you're locked up somewhere, it's not good for creative, because we see guys in AEW, WWE, elsewhere get put on the shelf and not being used. Cardona understands the relevancy is the key to making more money down the line. He's able to take bookings anywhere he wants, fit his bill, and continue to hone his craft on social media, the podcast, and not be limited by anywhere else. So I agree with Cardona. He has all the leverage in the world, and if Impact wants to play ball, they'll do a handshake deal. If not, he'll go out and do whatever. I mean, he'll work GCW. The guy is a hot commodity. So why would you lock yourself up? It makes the most sense.
I agree. It's giving him freedom. I will say, and maybe I'm out of touch with this, but I feel like the crest of his like rise and hit like how hot he was after that death match with Nick Gage, and I feel like it's simmering down a little bit. It doesn't. I just don't feel. I'm sure he's still big on the indies, but as far as like he was on this trajectory of just probably the most popular guy independent in the country, in the world, maybe at a certain point where I thought we were going to see him win an Impact World title. I thought that's where we were going, was like he was going to elevate where he needs something. I feel like there needs to be something happen with him, because I do think the next step, what's the next step? Are you going back to the indies to do that? That's fine, but he needs an elevation somehow. And I don't know. Is WWE back in the cards for him?
Maybe he's holding out for a bigger, whether we don't know the money they offered him. We also don't know what it does for him. Like if he looks at just pure numbers, if I guarantee these dates and I'm doing TV with Impact, how does that impact me in my financials? Because then he's not able to take whatever deal he is. And it also locks him up 2 years that maybe WWE opens up their books and says, we want to hire you. And then all of a sudden he's in Impact, and it's a chess game, really figuring out the right time to cash in those chips. So
I just
agree
feel
with
like
what he's doing.
I do too. I just feel like he's cooled off a little bit for me. Like and I respect the shit out of him doing his indie thing, but it's like that trajectory that he was on, it's cooled off a little bit, where he doesn't feel as he doesn't feel like as big of a player. At a certain point, everyone was like, oh, he's showing up on this. He's going to do, he was being fantasy booked in all these crazy scenarios. And I feel like he's cooled off just a touch for me, but I'm excited that he's betting on himself like he has been. I think he has become the poster boy of betting on yourself and what you can do outside of the majors.
So by not locking himself in Impact, he left himself the door open for potentially MLW. And we know MLW has been lauded in this kind of this financial and this litigation stuff with WWE. They're trying to figure out where their content's going to live. But now it seems we have an answer for that. So Court Bauer announced on Tuesday that live Major League Wrestling events will now air on Fight Plus, which is the monthly subscription that you can watch GCW on. And the deal will begin with Never Say Never from Philadelphia's 2300 Arena, aka the ECW Arena, on Saturday, July 8th. It's unknown how many events per year as part of the contract. While not specifically mentioned, it appears no other weekly MLTV programming will be moving to Fight as part of the deal. It is unknown if matches from the live events and then make up future TV events of Fusion Underground. Obviously, this is all tied with the stuff with Reels, with everything going on with them and WWE and Peacock. So they're kind of landing on their feet here. Fight Plus is a nice secondary option. The Reels deal seemed really sweet for them if it was going to work out. But unfortunately, it had to pivot because the big bad wolf came back and said, I don't want you there. We know Court Bauer's not going to go down sleeping. He's going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
And we're getting a little bit of an answer here, and good for MLW to pushing their way through this.
Yeah, and good on Fight. I mean, Fight's becoming, you want to see all the GCW stuff. Now you're getting MLW in there, a lot of independents, Wrestling Revolver. I think NWA even had some of their stuff on there, unless they took it off when they went back to YouTube. But Fight, big move for Fight, and just to be able to watch MLW live, that's huge for them. And I'm a fan of them just because I do think Court Bauer kind of pokes the bear a lot, but I'm a fan of them trying to stay relevant. And I think they're the little engine that could in the pro wrestling world, man. They're becoming almost like Impact was. They're unkillable and they have their own flavor. They definitely separate themselves from the other alternatives. So I enjoy MLW, happy for them.
So we also had an announcement of 3 new Canadian live events for WWE for its summer schedule. They announced on Friday that Raw on August 21st will take place from the Center of Videotron in Quebec City, Quebec. They also said they're going to be doing a house show coming up here in the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. The company was last there in February for an episode of Raw headlined by Edge and Austin Theory. This is in comparison to AEW coming to Canada. So they're tapping into that same market. Maybe they're like, oh, we haven't been back there in a bit. They'll be kind of clamoring for wrestling for other options. So we got AEW going there. Obviously, Toronto for Forbidden Door, 625. Dynamite's going to be in Hamilton, 628. Edmonton on 7.5. Regina, 712. So this is all tied together. Maybe they're going to try to ride that wave for August and continue with the momentum where AEW leaves, WWE comes in. Both working hand in hand. Maybe not knowingly, though.
Yeah, big summer for Canada and pro wrestling. Those fans eat it up. They're very rabid. So it's cool. I that is kind of apropos, the whole ride the wave. Because at first, when I first saw the headline, I'm like, are they counter programming the AEW Canadian tour? And then I'm like, no, they're just riding the wave of that. So it's fun.
We mentioned CM Punk earlier in the news here for quick hitters, but apparently it's not just going to be that he's on a Collision exclusively. Apparently, there's been clarification that he'll be appearing on AEW Dynamite when needed. So plans continue to be worked out, and it's ever changed. It's a fluid situation. But as the date for the yet to be announced AEW Collision looms near, more details are being discussed as it relates to CM Punk. So Punk will appear on Dynamite when needed. However, quote, those with unresolved issues with Punk would be on Collision the week he's on Dynamite. This is according to Meltzer in the newsletter. He also wrote the idea is to get people to resolve issues, but that hasn't happened yet, nor has there been any notable progress. When there comes to female talent in AEW, the thought is that the split will not be hard at all, and the women will be on both shows. Meltzer noted that none of these details are final. This is all obviously things he's hearing. He's putting his ear to the wall, has some binoculars in the bushes, watching the AEW stuff happen. If things change, I feel like I expect it to change, especially with the Punk situation. It's been ever changing week to week to week. I mean, go back to where we were 4 months ago. It seemed impossible for Punk to be back. Now we're talking about where he's going to be. I think it's a matter of time before he's on both shows. I really do. And I can't see this split roster sticking. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll do it and they'll do it well. I just don't see it happening. It's not in the mindset to not give the fans what they want. And on a Dynamite that's in a big market, they're running against whatever. They know they're going to be doing a big show, and you're going to be like, there's certain guys you can't use. That doesn't fit Tony Khan's modus operandi.
No, I know this split is not going to happen. Let's be honest. The split is Elite and Punk. No one else in that company is going to be able to say, I don't want to work. Like, even if there's people that don't like Punk, they don't have the stroke or the power to be able to request the whole, when Punk's on Collision, the other people will be on Dynamite and vice versa. It's the Elite, man. That's who it is. And I think Meltzer's hitting it on the head. I think this is a way to get them to come together. And I think all of this a year from now will be gone, will be kind of settled. And Punk will be on Dynamite. You're not going to just relegate him to an 8 p.m. Saturday show. Are you kidding me? You have CM Punk when the network is like wanting ratings, Tony Khan's all about giving ratings. They are going to be intermingling before too long. I guarantee it. This is just a way. I think this was kind of like a peace offering to both sides to be like, okay, well, we need him, but I know you guys have issues. So what if we do this? And then it'll slowly fade away and we'll be right back where it was before Brawl Out.
Get in the door, have a few drinks, everybody loosens up, and here we are again, all of a sudden partying together. So we have a tournament to crown a new NXT Women's Champion starting this week on NXT. Indy Hartwell came out during the final segment of the last week's NXT and announced that starting next week, the tournament will begin. She placed the Women's Championship on the ground. She talked about her legacy in NXT, and obviously her reign wasn't that long. 31 days. She won the championship at Stand Deliver WrestleMania weekend. We're going to see other women get to the shine here. Obviously, she's going to be on Raw for the time being, deservedly so, adding to the women's division. We'll see what happens at NXT Battleground on May 28th, where a new champion will be crowned. Just interesting to see that they pulled the trigger so quickly in Indy Hartwell while we watch other NXT talents kind of stay where they are. We've seen Grayson Waller get called up and other people, but she got fast tracked here, and I think deservedly so.
Yeah, and just I got to call out the Raw Down boys and props to J-Bone because he when they were doing the draft talk, he said Indy Hartwell would be coming up and Marco and young Anthony shit all over J-Bone for that prediction, saying that she's the champion, she's not going up there, and they laughed because J-Bone doesn't watch NXT. I thought that was hilarious when I saw her get drafted. I was like, oh, that hit so hard for me. But yeah, I haven't watched enough of Indy Hartwell. I watched her when she was with Gargano. What was it? The Way.
Yeah,
I remember watching that. WWE main roster, man, I think they need a lot of female talent up there. It seems skim, it seems thin. So to get new blood up there, I'm all about it.
So it looks like, since obviously we didn't get Roman Reigns at the show here at Backlash, but it appears he will be in London for Money in the Bank this summer. So WWE's website lists Roman Reigns among the wrestlers advertised for the show. We know Money in the Bank is taking place at the O2 Arena in London, England on Saturday, July 1st. He wasn't originally advertised for the show, so people didn't know exactly where he'd be. This is a big deal, and maybe it's tied with All In presence because they want to do the biggest. They want to have the atmosphere be as big, the biggest show they can do in London. And I know the O2 Arena is not going to be Wembley, but they want to definitely make their presence known. Especially, this is going to be a month and change before AEW gets there. They want to have the recognition of the London fans and get this show to be memorable. And Roman Reigns is your biggest star.
Yeah, was Money in the Bank at the O2? Was that announced prior to Wembley?
Yes, this has been a while. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even that just makes Tony Khan seem even more like a gambling madman. Like a month later in England, we're going to run Wembley. Yeah, having Roman there, not much bigger than putting your man, the main man, on a card. So yeah,
we don't know if he's going to be defending at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. We do have him advertised for SummerSlam in Detroit, but we know he has this part-time schedule, so he earned it. He's their biggest star, and he's going to pick and choose the events he wants to work, and they're going to do the same thing. Keep his star power up there and make him an attraction, which he is. Yeah,
if you can negotiate to wrestle less and get paid more, I mean, you'd be an idiot to do that. But at the same time, there's a level of I love those wrestlers that would just want to do it all the time. You know, like I love those wrestlers that you can feel that they love the business. And Triple H was one of those guys. You could tell he loved pro wrestling because he worked his ass off. He was never not there unless he was hurt. So, yeah.
Our next big story here is Trinity has opened up about her departure from WWE last year. So she was pretty open about what she was doing. And she appeared on Busted Open Radio, and she was talking about the decision to leave, and she's put more insight into this than we've heard at all since both of them walked out. She said, ultimately, I left that day because of the way I was talked to and handled. Everything kind of just broke me that day. It had nothing to do with anything else. Anybody else, that was just it. I had to leave. She talked about the backlash Talk about kind of keeping her silence and trying to figure out what she's going to do. She felt lost and the lowest she ever felt in her life. Happy for Trinity that she found a home in Impact Wrestling and she feels like a big star there. She is a big star, so hopefully Impact continues to push people the way they deserve, and I think they will. This is a good spot for her to explore creatively who she is as a wrestling character outside of WWE, and this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what she does here.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and props to her for not just eating shit and going on about it. Sometimes people need to stand up and say, "Hey, I don't like how I'm being treated. I'm out." And I think when those wrestlers that do that stick to their guns and actually leave, it emboldens other people to stand up for themselves and not just eat shit from the company. And I'm all about that.
And the final story here in Quick Hitters, we have former wrestling podcast host Will Washington has signed with AEW. Tony Khan confirmed this on Twitter. He said his new role will be the AEW Wrestling Administration Coordinator, and Tony Khan said he'll be working in many areas of wrestling, live events, social media, creative, PR. He also said he has a great mind for wrestling. He's here backstage tonight at Wednesday Dynamite. So we know that this is awesome because he's a wrestler. He's one of us.
Yeah.
Fightful reported that Washington will be helping out overseeing continuity and aiding in long-term creative. He has been a podcaster. Most recently, he was on Fightful's Grapsity and Day After Dynamite podcast. He was on the After the Week podcast and with Denise Salcedo on Wrestling Observer. So he's in there, and Tony Khan's watching. So if you're out there and you like what we're saying, Tony Khan, we're happy to be employed by AEW. But we will be objective as ever, though. No worries.
And I've watched Grapsity quite a bit. Will seems like extremely astute, a very unbiased, well thought out, smart wrestling fan.
Absolutely.
And I'm stoked. Like I was telling Steve when we were watching Dynamite on Wednesday and this news dropped, I love watching them build their behind the scenes crew. It seems like such a healthy group of people they're bringing in, with the Mike Mansouri signing and all of those people. And with Will Washington, man, very excited. Like you said, one of our own getting in there. And the big thing, you mentioned he's going to be overseeing continuity. Another thing I heard that Tony Khan has kind of put on him along with the continuity is making sure talent isn't forgotten. And if you remember, I think last week we talked about how they were wanting to make sure, the House of Blacks and those, the big acts that fans are like, man, they're not on our TV enough. With a guy like Will, he's got his ear to the ground. He hears the fans saying that stuff. So maybe he can like get with Tony and make sure we're not leaving out the people that fans really want to see week to week. So I'm really excited to see how that improves. And I think we'll get into it in week ahead, but if it's a step in the right direction is this coming Wednesday, because man, this card, it's pay-per-view quality card this coming Wednesday.
Absolutely. So best of luck to Will Washington and all the best, and continue to speak the truth of what wrestling fans want, because that's the beautiful thing about this is Tony Khan's willing to bring in minds that are not just kind of the like-minded, the career wrestling minds. He's looking outside the box of figuring out what wrestling fans want. And that's why I feel like the product speaks to a different level of fandom. It's not just guys that the Pat Pattersons, the Gerald Briscoes, the guys that were surrounding creative in WWE, WWF at the time. And those people have great minds for wrestling, but sometimes where you're so in that world, it's hard to see outside of it. And this is great for Will Washington to put in perspective of, these are what the fans are saying. You may live in this world day to day and you may hear the things you hear, but this is what the fans are saying. Take what you will. You don't have to oblige by everything they say, but just know this is what they're saying.
Yeah, it's a billionaire super fan who started the company, and now he's Tony keeps his ears to the ground, but he is in his bubble too. And I think a signing like this is him realizing that and being like, hey, maybe I can put myself in put my responsibilities in other areas more, and bring in a guy who really has his ear to the ground of the fans. And that'll alleviate some of the pressure that Tony has. I think this is brilliant, man.
So it's awesome stuff. So let's get into Dave's raves and hear what Dave had to say about the week.
Dave Raves.
All right, the most fascinating part of the Observer newsletter this week was the stuff about the Wembley stuff, and I'll get into it one second. I pulled a lot from it. I just want to say his match of the week was Sonata versus Takahashi at the Wrestling Dontaku show. This was the 30th annual show, and it sold out weeks in advance, which is a big get for Sonata. People were critical about Sonata winning the championship. Maybe he's not a huge draw, but this was a great main event. The story in the match was fans hoping Takahashi would become the first junior heavyweight to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And anyone doubtful that this would happen, they kind of put, near falls in there. And at this point, it seemed like Takahashi was going to win after Sonata just won that title. But very, very good match. New Japan kind of climbing up, and they're in a rebuilding phase for sure, but they're building some momentum. And I'm interested to see who they bring to the forefront for Forbidden Door. Because if Sonata's champion for that's a big badge of honor for him, that they believe he's the guy that should be champion.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is how everything, because we're edging towards Forbidden Door. We're 3 weeks away, I believe, from Double or Nothing, and then it's going to be all roads lead to Forbidden Door. So that's what makes it very interesting to track New Japan right now, is to kind of see where everyone's falling. And Forbidden Door last year suffered because there was a lot of injuries. There was a lot of people that couldn't be on that show. And as it stands right now, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it doesn't look like any of the big stars are suffering injuries right now. So Forbidden Door 2 might come out with way more star power than even last year.
100%. And his performer of the week was a guy in this match. It was Takahashi. He pretty much talked about working from underneath, getting the fans behind him. And when he hit the time bomb 2, everyone thought potentially he could have walked out with the championship. And maybe that's where they're going. Maybe Takahashi walks into Forbidden Door as champion. They have a bit more time. I think Dominion's happening before this event. So maybe that's what they're building towards. But whoever walks in Forbidden Door, they're going to make sure it's the best option, because, again, the biggest eyes will be on the product, and a chance for them to kind of hit a second gear and stop this rebuilding and get to the hot product they were only a few years ago.
Yeah.
So the notes in here, and I pulled a lot, I'm not going to read all of them, but it's about comparing the Wembley show historically with everything going on. So as of late Thursday in the UK, this is according to Meltzer, the night before tickets went on sale to the general public, the show had sold 50,000 tickets for $6.5 million. Meltzer said it will likely break the record for the largest non-WrestleMania first-day ticket sales set for the 1992 SummerSlam event at the old Wembley. He had said that the old stadium got 55,000. It will likely beat total paid attendance WWE got for Clash at the Castle last year on the first day of general public sales. Meltzer does say AEW has advantages, never have been to Europe and Wembley before, was a larger metropolitan area to draw from than Cardiff. The total paid attendance for each night of WrestleMania this year was about 60,000. So there's a very good chance this will be the largest paid attendance for a pro wrestling event, not only this year, but the largest since 2016 AT&T Stadium. That was WrestleMania 32. He said, while beating the Cardiff show now is a layup, we are left with only WrestleMania shows and the 1992 SummerSlam show to beat. The 2019 show at MetLife in East Rutherford, New Jersey did 63,000 paid, a number that is not guaranteed to be topped, but certainly within reach. I think they topped it already. The 2017 show did 66,700, and the 2016 show did 79,800, which is the company's all-time record for paid attendance, a number which will be very tough to top. He goes into the numbers about Cardiff, and we talked about before the pacing, the 2023 Rumble that happened in the stadium as well. He also talked about Tokyo Dome shows. But the biggest thing I wanted to pull here is AEW has already near tripled the most tickets ever sold for a show. He says that it was 18,300 for the actual number of tickets sold for the first Arthur Ashe show, and has done 5.7 times as much revenue as the company prior record, which is 1.14 million at the Double or Nothing 2022 show in Las Vegas. He also says the European record was set at SummerSlam 1992 at Wembley Stadium as far as attendance, with 79,127 in the building and 78,927 paid, for a gate of 2.2 million for a show headlined by Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith for the IC title. This show, even though it should beat the first day number, it is unlikely to reach that number for a total, even though this Wembley show is larger than this stadium is larger than the one in 1992. Besides 1992 and 2022 WWE shows, the largest attendance in Europe were shows headlined by Jim Londos in Athens, Greece. we're touching unprecedented territory here for AEW. No matter where this lands, they're going to be in a top 5 list, not only for attendance this year, top 5 in Europe ever. These are big, big numbers we're throwing around.
So that's incredible. So what is the paid attendance #1 record? Who holds that in pro wrestling?
So there is a super show in Korea that did like, I think total of 160,000 people over the course of 2 days. One day had like 110. So
what's WWE's biggest selling event of all time?
It should be their WrestleMania 32 show. But they'll tell you that they did almost 100,000. And again, this is all turnstile numbers and tickets sold and tickets given away for free. As far as gate goes, WrestleMania 32 should be their record gate, 2016 at AT&T. The one before that obviously was WrestleMania 3. They logged that number, for Andre and Hogan. Again, wherever this lands as far as paid and given away, optically, it's going to look like a beautiful, beautiful day of wrestling where fans are out there and the atmosphere too. And WrestleMania fans are always awesome, but this is in UK. This is like, imagine UK hosted a WrestleMania, and that's maybe they will eventually, but this is the closest we're going to get to it.
I bet those fans, man, that's something I didn't even think about, is they've never got a Mania level show.
Yeah.
So I think that breeds a lot of goodwill with fans. If you got a fan base
100%.
and you're like, hey, I'm giving you a stadium show, I feel like that is a great way to enter a market. Hey, we're here, 80,000 plus.
So I pulled up the Collision in Korea show. That was a super show with New Japan Pro Wrestling and World Championship Wrestling, April 1995. The day 1 attendance was 165,000. Day 2 was 190,000 for a total of 355,000 for the whole night. So I'm going to read you the results as far as main event level. For night 1, Hashimoto wrestled Scott Norton to a time limit draw for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship for the main event. If you think back, 1995 WCW didn't have that many stars to offer as far as like, oh, all right, we're going to sell out a huge card. Main event for the second night was Inoki versus Ric Flair. Inoki got the pinfall clean against Flair. We also had the Steiner brothers in tag action, Hawk Warrior in a singles match, Wild Pegasus and Flying Scorpio. But goddamn, 355,000 over the course of 2 days. It's insane. So
that's North Korea, right?
North Korea, yes.
Yeah. So let's be honest. That attendance was mandatory. That was like government.
It seems that way.
Yeah, that was government issued. You must attend, or the secret police are showing up and knocking on your door.
So this is on Wikipedia. So in the U.S., the show garnered little news attention, and when the event was released on pay-per-view later that year, it only received approximately 30,000 buys. Following the purchase of WCW and its assets by WWE in 2001, the company has rarely acknowledged the event, not releasing it on its network, despite having released almost all of their WCW events. According to Bischoff and sports journalist Dave Meltzer, this may be because WWE claims the attendance of 93,173 people for the WrestleMania 3 event in 87 is one of the largest ever for a pro wrestling event, and they don't want it to hurt their image because a competitor did it. Well, try to whitewash the AEW show if they beat that number.
Right. Man, and the 93, that's a flub number.
It is, but I mean, we'll see. I have to figure out exactly what, I think it was in these notes as far as what the actual number was, but I don't think they'll touch that number, even if it's like 85. Like it was flubbed a little bit, just like all of them are.
Right.
I wonder if Tony Khan's going to play ball like that, though. Is he going to try to flub the number, or is he going to be accurate to it? I have a feeling he's a guy who's accurate. He's a numbers guy.
I feel like he's going to be accurate, because you don't want to. That shit always comes out, and you don't want to be compared to Vince always like pumping your numbers up a little bit.
Yep. All right, let's get into the week ahead and preview what's happening in wrestling.
Let's do it.
The week ahead.
All right, for the week ahead, let's start with AEW Dynamite on 5/10. Stacked card, as you mentioned, main evented by a steel cage match, grudge match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. We have the International Championship on the line, Orange Cassidy defending against Daniel Garcia. The Trios Championship being defended, House of Black, in a House Rules match against Bandito and Best Friends. We get Anna Jay versus Julia Hart. get a double Jeopardy match, which is interesting because this is the first time I'm hearing this, and this is an ROH World Champion, Claudio Castagnoli versus the ROH Tag Team Champion, Ray Phoenix, who's supposed to be taking time off, but, whatever. Don't heal
Right.
if it's fine. If whoever wins will get a shot at the other person's title. So if Ray Phoenix wins, he'll get a shot at Claudio Castagnoli. If Claudio wins, he'll get a shot at the Lucha Brothers tag titles. I guess he has to pick a partner, probably, obviously,
Yuta.
BCC,
Yeah.
Yuta, probably. FTR will respond to Jay Lethal's challenge, and we'll hear from Christian Cage, who seems like he's going after Wardlow's TNT Championship. So, stat card, awesome stuff.
This is an awesome card, man. This is one of the best cards I think they put together in quite a while.
Yeah.
The fact that, and when we were talking about Will Washington handling continuity, making sure people don't fade away, the fact that they're coming out strong with House of Black trios, House Rules match, and the no holds barred match between Anna Jay and Julia Hart. Those two have been feuding on Rampage for a while. I know a lot of people don't watch Rampage. I think Rampage here lately has been kicking it up a notch. But that being said, we didn't hit this in the news. I totally forgot about it. Just mention it really quick. The report is Rampage, they did away with Dark and Dark Elevation. Those shows are no more. The rumor is that Rampage will now become a spot kind of filling that void of featuring exclusively young talent, and then Collision and Dynamite will become the premier shows, and they will shoot Ring of Honor with Collision, I believe. So
yeah, interesting. Probably the best way to use Rampage, if only 500,000 less than that are going to watch weekly, and it keeps moving around, you might as well use it as a highlight for the younger talent. And it means a little bit more to be on TV than on YouTube. So
exactly. And little feuds, like low to mid card feuds, like Anna Jay and Julia Hart. I like stuff like that, man. I like stories from the top of the card to the bottom of the card.
So this is all building towards AEW Double or Nothing. Right now, we only have one official match. We can kind of, hypothesize what the rest of the card would look like. But right now, it's the Fatal 4-Way for the Pillars. MJF defends his AEW World Championship against Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. That's it. So MJF, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, and Jack Perry. So that's going to be the Pillars Fatal 4-Way for the AEW World Championship.
Darby.
Oh, Darby Allin. Yeah.
Yep.
For whatever reason, he's not listed in there. I think Sammy's listed twice on there. So for Darby, we did not forget you. Fatal 4-Way for the Pillars.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be a great match. And we might get Christian versus Luchasaurus. We might get, I think we're going to get FTR versus Jared and Lethal.
Christian versus Wardlow, you mean?
Wardlow, yes.
Yeah.
So we're all over the place here, guys. So leading into Impact on Thursday, we have Impact World Champion Steve Maclin against Rhino. The Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the Coven, will defend their titles against Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. We're going to get Nick Aldis. Will have his first singles match in the company since 2017 against Sheldon Jean. And Masha Slamovich versus Killer Kelly. So Impact doing big things.
Yeah, it's a fun card. Can't wait to see Aldis back in action. And Slamovich, Killer Kelly. I've got my eyes on that. I like Killer Kelly a lot.
So we also have Under Siege, which will be May 26th. That's the weekend of Double or Nothing. So they're riding that way. That's the Friday night of the Double or Nothing weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So people will be home and drinking and partying and stuff. So it's a great wrestling weekend. We have right now the card set: Steve Maclin defending his Impact World Championship against PCO, Deonna Purrazzo defending her Knockout Championships against Jordan Grace, Trey Miguel defending his X Division Championship against Chris Sabin. We have a number one contender 6-way match between Eddie Edwards, Moose, John Gresham, Uemura, Frankie Kazarian, and Alex Shelley. And we're going to be getting Sami Callihan and a partner to be determined later versus the Design, Dean Khan and Angels. So Under Siege will probably add one or two more matches, but it's pretty much set. They're building towards this, a few more weeks of build, and this can be a huge event from London, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, I like that they're really leaning heavy into their Canadian fans. I think it's helping them a lot in the touring show. The event they just did, Rebellion, it was an incredible turnout. Awesome. It was great.
We have New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence on Sunday, May 21st. Most notably, Jon Moxley will make his New Japan return. So this card's pretty stacked. We're going to get the IWGP United States Championship number one contenders tournament, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Will Ospreay. We're getting Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino versus Okada, Ishii, and Rocky Romero. So a 6-man tag match with two BCC members there. We're going to get Hikuleo defending his New Japan Strong Championship against Kenta. We get a street fight, Fred Rosa versus Juice Robinson, Zack Sabre Jr. and Bad Dude Tito versus Barbaro Cavernario and Virus. The list goes on here. So they're also going to be doing a tournament final for the end of New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Championship. So adding more, a separate brand for New Japan Strong with more champions for themselves.
Yeah, it's a stacked show, man. I love that we're going to see a match with Moxley and Okada in it. It's fun.
This is also building for New Japan, their Dominion show, which will be here less than a month from now on June 4th. The biggest matches announced so far, we're going to get the New Japan Pro Wrestling World Television title, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jeff Cobb. The tag team championships will be on the line, Aussie Open against Evil and Takahashi, and Bishamon, which is Goto and Yoshihashi in a triple threat match. The never openweight title, David Finlay will defend against El Phantasmo, and Sonata will defend his championship against Yota Tsuji. So the IWGP Championship on the line. Will Sonata go in as champion? I believe so. Further into the summer, one more roadblock to get into Forbidden Door, which is a big, as we mentioned, badge of honor to walk into that big show as champion.
Yeah, and the David Finlay El Phantasmo Bullet Club storylines, very compelling to me right now.
For NXT this week, Tuesday, if you're into watching NXT, we got the tag titles on the line. Gallus versus the Dyad, Braun Breaker, who's stuck in NXT hell because of his dad probably, versus Trick Williams.
Yeah.
Dragunov versus Dijak. And we get the NXT Women's Championship tournament beginning.
I love Dragunov, man. He's one of my low-key favorite. That match he had with Walter a year or so ago was brutal. More than a year, so probably 2 years ago at this point.
If not longer, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Love that match.
So on Raw, as we mentioned before, they're going to start developing the triple threats to determine who's going to go into Night of Champions, defending or trying to win that title. So Raw is happening right now, so hope you're enjoying it. And on SmackDown this Friday, we're going to get the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship on the line. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defend against the Damage Controls, Bayley and Dakota Kai. We also get Roman Reigns returning to our screens for the first time in a while. Cameron Grimes versus Baron Corbin. We're going to get that triple threat match. We don't know who's involved on the SmackDown side for two of the matches. And then the main event will be the winners of those two matches wrestling each other. So some meaning on Raw and SmackDown. You usually don't have to watch, but it seems like if you are interested in who's going to go into Night of Champions going for that championship, there's some importance on these week-to-week TV shows.
Yeah, I know we shit all over the triple threat matches in the big story, but you're right. Like, those do elevate the shows where it doesn't feel like because a lot of times, even with title matches on Raw and SmackDown, you never expect a title change anymore on those shows. At least I don't.
Right.
And with this, it does elevate, the meaning of a Raw or SmackDown episode. I'm interested to see how this plays out, I'll say.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's going to be the next 2 weeks of SmackDown and Raw, at least they can't change the match listing. So no matter what remote Vince McMahon with his mustache as he twirls it, he can't change what the matches are. It has precedent for the shows, but you know what? Give him some credit. He can change whatever he wants at this point. So yeah. I don't like triple threat matches.
Yeah.
But that's all we got for you guys. I mean, I hope you enjoyed the show. This was jam-packed news, and we fit it in under 2 hours, which is unlike us. But Chad, you guys have Broken VCR, the debate, all this stuff that's coming out. I know it's Sunday night, the night before this airs, the debate aired, but give us some hype into everything else going on.
For the debate, we got our full debate crew. Colton's back with Tom. We get into some stuff. We touch on some touchy topics, might ruffle some feathers. We're talking Tessa Blanchard. Come get pissed off at us. Flagship Thursday, Broken VCR. I believe we are dropping this Tuesday. Tomorrow will be our episode on the movie from 2004, Sideways. If you remember the wine movie, great movie. Yeah, a lot of stuff, fun things happening around the tavern. Just go to theturnbuckletavern.com. Give us some love on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. It's growing. We just hit over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So things are moving.
So you guys check out Shot Nostalgia this Friday. We are covering 3 Raws, 2 of them preempted for the U.S. Open. So they're taped, so they get drubbed by WCW on the other side. But we are building towards further and further into the fall. Ultimately, Survivor Series 1998 is where we want to go. The Deadly Games, we mentioned One Night Tournament, where The Rock is crowned champion for the first time. becomes the corporate champion. Can't wait to check that out with Mike Belcaster. Go back in the archives and watch last week's episode for SummerSlam 1998. Had a great time talking about that. We talked about celebrities in wrestling, so it's very appropriate to today. Obviously, Thursday nights, Honor Society, covering all things Ring of Honor with Colton at mullet.mania. Give him a follow on Instagram. Monday nights, you can find me right here. Also, stay tuned for some future interviews. Joey Conway's returning to visit in the tavern May 26th, I believe, that Friday. He's going to be coming, talking about whatever, hyping up some stuff. He just had a trip to Puerto Rico. He's, wrestling Little Guido this weekend, I believe, or next weekend. So a lot of big things going on with Joey Conway. So he's going to come back and stay high. You can also shout out to Victory Pro Wrestling. Went there last night for Higher Limits. Spent some time there, hyping the tavern, giving out stickers. Thanks to everybody that came by. And we're going to be returning for the next show coming up in June. So stay tuned for that with details. I'll make the poster and send it out to you guys. I'll make the post. I don't make the posters. And Remarkable Wrestling, we were at a table there as well. So they're opening a school starting this summer. So if you're interested in training to be wrestling in the Northeast, manager, valet, referee, $150 a month. It's like it's so affordable, and you're going to be learning from the best. So Kona Capuccia it's his school, and I walked through yesterday because it's in the same parking lot of where the VPW show was. The school it's going to be awesome, and it's still in the growing stages as far as being built, but you're going to have access to top of the notch knowledge of wrestling, but also going to have film study. You're also going to have a place to work out, and the family Remarkable Wrestling. We continue to hit new heights. Our next show, May 27th, Danger Zone 2. Make sure you guys check that out. It's in Quorum, New York. If you're in that area, big things happen for Remarkable. Happy to be a part of the family.
That's awesome, man. It seems like exciting stuff going on in the independents up there.
100%. You guys can follow me at Acefield Retro. I continue to grind towards whatever I'm trying to grind towards numbers wise. And then obviously follow at Turnbuckle Tavern for wrestling nostalgia, updates on the shows. We have so much going on. You want to keep up to date. That's where you can go and check it out at Turnbuckle Tavern. And it's awesome content. It's not just posters and stuff. It's reels. It's wrestling history. It's coming to life for you. And there's arguments and conversations in the comments as well. So come have conversations with us. If you disagree, that's okay. That's okay. But
that's okay. We like a good debate.
100%. But that's all we got, Chad. Tell them how they can keep it.
Yeah, guys, keep it snug and stiff. Style, profile, until we're back to walk that aisle. God luck and good speed.
Reach for the sky, boy.